Let's begin. I'm going to invite the chime to sing, and I invite you to use this time to relax and rest. And so I'm going to begin our practice today with a sentiment of metta, loving kindness, and then we'll begin. This is a little painting I've made, and on the back I write these sentiments of loving kindness. This one reads, "May you experience compassion and share it. May you experience compassion and share it." Welcome, welcome, one and all. I'd like to encourage an inward gaze and find a posture in the body that feels relaxed and at ease. And I'd like your inward gaze to take notice of your face and simply take a moment to move your eyebrows, open your mouth and close your mouth, make some faces, squint your eyes, just tighten the muscles in your face and then allow them to relax. We wear a lot of distress on our face, and sometimes we forget to invite those muscles to ease. For the month of July, we are exploring in the Spokane Sangha the Noble Eightfold Path. This is a way of life, basically, and it is a way of identifying that as a human being, we're going to encounter discomfort, disappointment, frustration, anxiety, anger, confusion. As much as we're going to experience joy and love, ease and calm, tranquility, serenity, and so on. But the Buddha had this extraordinary capacity to recognize that as human beings, we have this propensity to cling to what we judge to be positive and to avoid what we judge to be negative. Subsequently, those actions diminish the positive and they inflate the negative. And so he cultivated and developed this whole way of life to try to find harmony in the positive and the negative, to bring forward a spirit of neutrality. And he called it the Noble Eightfold Path. 8 aspects of wisdom that move in and out of one another, complementing one another. Last month we explored the first 4. Wise intention, wise understanding, wise action, and wise speech. For July, we are exploring the last 4. Wise effort, wise livelihood, wise mindfulness, and wise concentration. Today, I'd like to share with you a story that happened to me yesterday. And it has to do with bringing forward all of the aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path, particularly effort, mindfulness, livelihood. And the story actually begins a couple of years ago in this building, the Pelican building where Soul Center lives and breathes. And I have been in this building and I have been the steward of this space for almost 10 years. And I have taken care of this building through the pandemic. I have seen tenants come and go. And a couple of years ago, the building was sold. And the building owner, who is an acquaintance of mine, told me one day that he had someone who was going to rent out all of the extra spaces in the building, all of the empty spaces. And would I like to come down and meet them? And I did. And I met them, and my first impression of these people, in a word, was chaos. And I was terribly uncomfortable. And so I remember listening to their big plans of what they wanted to do with the building. And suddenly this image of the Grinch from the animated story, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, came over me, and all I could hear was the noise, noise, noise all around this beautiful sanctuary called Soul Center. And I was not happy. And the building owner could see it on my face. And he asked me, "Are you okay?" And I said in front of 4 other people, "I'm not. Could we have a private conversation?" And he granted me that. And so we had a walk outside. And I said, "If you're going to rent out the building to these people, I'd like to throw my hat in the ring. And I'd like to see if we can rent out the building." Now, I offered this not having any clue as to what I was doing. It was so impulsive of me. I just knew I did not want the chaos that I was sensing and intuiting. So he agreed. And then the waters got really tumultuous, because what I was endeavoring to do and what these other people wanted to do were in instant conflict, and they were not happy with me. And at the time, I was so self-protecting of what I had created here that, in all honesty, I don't think I cared much about their feelings. I wanted them to go away. I'm not very proud of that. It doesn't feel very compassionate, but I'm simply being honest. That's what happens in self-protecting modes. I was just thinking about me, my feelings, and what was happening here. And I was also trying to get a grip on my own mind and heart, which was really upended. The energy between us was really, really hostile and negative. Well, needless to say, Lo and I have taken over the building. These people did go away. They, not without leaving a bunch of stuff in the basement of our building, which the owner allowed. And so I had this connection with these people because we were trying to get their stuff moved out. And so this relationship, this connection, this very hostile interaction, it continued, it lingered for a while. There was energy here that we were contending with, and it was difficult. And one of the last interactions we had was particularly rough. Unpleasant, uncomfortable. And so I had to create a lot of space between me and these people and really clear boundaries. And then they went away, and I hadn't seen them for over a year. And just yesterday, one of the people who needed to come by and pick up the last thing that was being stored in the basement from a couple of years ago arranged to come over. I was going to be here. I was a little nervous. I was a little braced. I didn't know what the interaction was going to be, so I was trying to stay open, trying to be spacious, and at the same time, I was also trying to be softer. The time had passed, water under the bridge. So this guy shows up. He pulls into the parking lot, and he's playing this really loud heavy metal music, which for me, not comfortable. So there it was. I was immediately uncomfortable. So I breathed. And I greeted this individual and I said, hey, are you here to pick up the thing that's down in the basement? Yeah. And I said, is anyone here to help you move it? And he was like, nope, it's just going to be me. And I said, have you seen this thing? And he says, yeah, I have. I'm the one that put it there. Hostile, aggressive. And I said, I don't recognize you. Have we met? And he said, Julia, it's so-and-so. And I was shocked. I didn't recognize this guy at all. He completely changed. And I looked at him and I said, oh my God, forgive me, I didn't recognize you. To which he responded, well, that's what losing 80 pounds will do to you. And I breathed. And I realized in that moment that as much as I was bracing for this interaction, he was bracing for this interaction. And of the two of us, one of us is a practitioner. And so this was an opportunity for me to pause. And before we went down in the basement, I said, a lot of time has passed between us. And before we go into the basement and before we go forward, I want you to know two things. One is I'm happy to help you move that out of there. Two is I want to acknowledge that there was bad blood between us. And I need to know if that's water under the bridge or if you are open to having a conversation. And he looked at me with a soft gaze. And it was at that moment that I could see him. I finally recognized him. I got a glimpse of that individual. And I extended my hand and he said, yeah, Julia, life's too short to hold grudges. And he shook my hand. And then we moved this big piece of equipment. Made 5 trips down to the basement and into his car. All the while, loud, growling metal music playing. The whole thing was so fascinating. And then at the end, we were in the basement and there was one last piece. I said, I just want to acknowledge that there was a lot of hostility exchanged between us in a very, very tumultuous time. And there was a lot of disappointment on your part. And I think I could have handled some things differently, and I regret that. And if I hurt your feelings, I want to apologize. Because I want you to go into your life knowing that this has been repaired, this is okay. And he just smiled. I don't know that he knew what to do with it, and that's okay. And I wished him well. I actually said to him, in all your endeavors, future and on, may you have peace and ease. And that's how we parted. And it was such a beautiful relief for my own heart and mind. I hadn't realized that I had been carrying that interaction around with me, kind of like a little stone in my pocket or something. Every once in a while I would touch it and get a sense of it. And I share this with you because this is how our relationships go sometimes. And I never cease to be amazed at how repair can present itself, how time is such a profound healer. And I was also struck by the recognition that I had no expectation of him. It didn't matter to me if he accepted my apology. It was simply something that I wanted to put down as a perspective on the boundary between us. And I was taking care of my own heart and my own mind. And the sincerity that I felt wishing him peace and ease. And I was so struck and so moved by this whole experience that I'm still thinking about it. I'm telling you about it. And what I've learned is it's never too late to repair. It's never too late to shift your connections. And I'm humbled because I never could have imagined that this is what would have happened. And what I think is so joyful and such a surprise is how life presented this individual to me once again and stripped him of his appearance to the point that I didn't recognize him at all. And I think that's playful and wonderful. And it was as if life was saying to me, Julia, see this guy anew. He's not the same person. You're not the same person. Create something new here. Put the past in the past. Be present here now. See what is here now. And put forward into the future something bright and beautiful. I can think of no wiser effort than that, because it has changed my life. And I also know that mindfulness, present time awareness, is what supports my practice. And with just a little bit of concentration, marked by a pause, a breath, a hey, wait a second, let's not just bulldoze through this interaction. Let's not pretend that there isn't something here. Let's acknowledge it. Let's focus on it for just a moment. Maybe this will bring some healing light for the two of us. It is my belief that this is the embodiment of compassion. And coming back to our intention today, may you experience compassion and share it. That's my story of compassion. And it came in the form of repair. And I was able to offer him and myself what I think we both needed to heal. I'd like to end our practice today with a dedication of merit. And I just invite you to come back to a posture that feels at ease and open. And maybe just take a moment to allow the essence of compassion to come into your whole being. And in recognition, to just tell yourself, I have a hungry ghost. We probably have more than one. I do. I definitely have more than one hungry ghost. And so the practice is not about getting rid of the hungry ghost, but to try to find space for them, for their presence, for their wisdom and guidance. And maybe an act of compassion is to offer these mantras. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to the light of your true nature. May this heal you. And may you be a source of healing for all beings. This is the practice, friends. And thank you for bringing yours here today. You leave such a beautiful impression in this space and in our hearts and minds. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next time. Namaste.